Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia. With me today, we got Brandon.
Hello.
We're here to talk about games and things.
Games and things.
All right, what's on the agenda today?
I had games, you had games, we had games.
Everybody has games.
Yeah. You get anything for Christmas?
Not game-wise.
Okay.
Just what I got myself, which was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I guess I got myself that as well.
Yeah, that is what I got. Yeah, so we got that to talk about since I've actually played some of it now. I don't know, a single fucking thing you wrote down. Most of it doesn't even look like it's in English. So
all of
so we
these
got
are
those
English
to talk about.
words, and bro's just like, I can't read the word warriors.
Okay, these are not all English words. The fuck is a STARNAUT?
It's like an astronaut for the stars.
Oh, it's an Absolum.
Okay, that one.
Yeah, so don't tell me these are real words, you asshole.
Okay. Alright.
Some of them are. Warriors, yeah, that one's a real one.
Yeah. Mythical's real.
Yeah, mythical. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Real word.
Yeah.
Mythical.
Yeah.
Mythical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Concept,
that's a real word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real concept.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you combine them together, a mythical concept, then it's something that's not real.
No. I mean, yeah. Technically.
Da-da-da. Yeah.
Damn, you're right.
Mm-hmm. All right. You ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. Where do you want to start?
Cyberpunk? You want to do Cyberpunk?
You want to do Cyberpunk first?
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes, I have a lot to say about it. So, although I do think that this maybe is going to be a surprising statement, maybe that I'm about to say. But I think that this is probably one of the best games I've played this generation. Maybe even good enough to make probably some top list of mine of all time.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I fucking love this game. Like a lot. I'm somewhere, I think 45 hours into it now.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got lots. And I've done a lot obviously in this game so far, but I think at least progression wise, I'm probably still somewhere in the middle. So I mean, there's still a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, this game it's just endlessly entertaining. And I think the thing that actually surprises me the most is playing it now and then thinking about what this game was when it came out, 5 years ago or whatever.
Yes.
I do not. It's magical that this game even came together with everything that it had going on. But obviously it had it seemed to have a rocky development period in that.
It did. It definitely did. I think a lot of it was the transition from one generation to another really caused a lot of issues there, and then it releasing on past generation consoles and stuff. They didn't really optimize it for said consoles at the time. I will say when I played it on PS4 Pro, it was fine. There was no real big deal there. I didn't really run into a lot of the same issues other people did. Obviously, there were some problems with the game itself, like release system wasn't very fleshed out, and also there was an entire skill tree that's been rewritten now that you're playing it, and that massively improved the game. However,
there's lots of things I was reading about, like the skill trees.
Mm-hmm.
Those are kind of very dramatically overhauled. Some of the mission structure stuff.
Yes,
I guess all the vehicles used to be their own mission points. Every single vehicle.
Yes.
And there's lots of stuff that they seem to have streamlined. I guess calls and stuff. I guess it used to be incessive amounts of calls and conversations.
Yes, there were tons of them that would come through at any given moment in time. It feels a lot more natural now with the way it's designed. They did shuffle around a lot of things like mission structures and stuff like that, like you mentioned and alluded to. They've done a lot since this game released. I finished it around the time of the launch of the DLC and everything.
Mm-hmm.
However, I played it when it first launched, and I also played it now I've also played the Switch 2 version, which is what you're playing and I'm playing, because there's a little price glitch hiccup that happened, and CD Projekt Red was absolute fucking G's and decided to honor the price glitch for anyone that bought it, which was awesome.
Easily the best like 1750 I think I've ever spent in my life.
Honestly, 1750 for this is a absolute steal. It is
Oh yeah.
an absolute fucking steal. So I've only
Mm-hmm.
played about 4 hours of the Switch 2 version, mostly because I was testing it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much the main reason I got it for Switch 2, because I wanted to see how it ran and the actual like quality of it. And I'll just say this, it's phenomenal. It runs incredibly well. Like, you're not getting 60 FPS, but at the same time, if you're playing in handheld, it doesn't matter because the VRR smooths it out enough that it still feels great. And if you're playing on like the screen itself and you just play performance mode, it looks fantastic. It may be locked at 30 FPS, but it looks fantastic. And for this to be looking as good as it does while running on a Nintendo console is nothing short of a fucking miracle. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think graphically and performance wise, I think it's pretty incredible what they were able to put together. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you compare it to something like, say, we were just on like Metroid Prime 4.
Yes.
I mean, I think, like comparatively graphically, Metroid Prime 4 probably has more like stable like resolution and higher frame rates, but
Yeah, yeah,
obviously
of
has
course.
a lot more going on in the background. Cyberpunk does compared to
Yes, yes,
Metroid,
definitely.
which is also, a big difference that's
And the
there.
open world's massive in Cyberpunk. It's huge.
Oh yeah. Actually, I think one of my funniest things that I read this week was, I don't remember who it was from the Cyberpunk team. Someone that's kind of high up in the development of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but he's like, all right. He's like, we gotta squash some stuff that I've been reading.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, there are no. He's like, the elevators are not hidden load times.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this city loads in real time, as you can
Mm-hmm.
see. There's no load times anywhere in the city. Why the fuck you think we need to hide load times in an elevator of all
Mm-hmm.
places? Like, go fuck yourselves. Like, um, he's like, this engine is a masterpiece, and yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. Um, yeah, which is true. I mean, you could even tell there's no load times in the elevators. It's obviously just kind of like the elevators are just fucking slow. That's just how they are, just like they are in the real world.
I mean, a lot of the
Um,
elevators are in like shady, rundown places too. Like in
yeah.
all of Night Shady, all of Night Shady, all of Night City is very shady and rundown in most places in the entire city. So like, it makes sense that all these things would be, kind of kind of shitty. They run
Mhm.
kind of shittily and that sort of deal. I
Yeah.
guess I have to. All right, it's been 5 years, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. How did you feel about Jackie the first time?
I almost sent you
His
guys a
death
message about this
happened.
because I was gonna be like, well, at first I didn't like him, and then like I started to come around on him, and I was
Yeah,
just like, I literally had this moment where I'm sitting there, and I was like,
I like
you
this
know
guy.
what? I
And
kind of like Jackie a lot. Dead. Like, what
dead
the fuck? Like,
immediately when you start feeling that way. That's when they do it. Yeah, and then I don't know if you did the optional funeral for him, but that shit is crushing. I
no,
don't
I
know
did
if you
not
did
even
that.
know.
There is an
Mm-mm.
optional funeral where you like meet up with his mom and everything, and like you go to his old apartment and you get a bunch of his stuff and whatnot, and you bring it to put by his casket and shit, and like you meet up with his girlfriend, and you all have an actual like candlelight visual basically for Jackie, and it's like all the people he's interacted with and whatnot, and if you do that, you actually get some special stuff. It's one of the options that you could take. I believe if you send his body back during that mission where it gives you the option of sending his dead body back to
Mm-hmm.
like his family or whatever, after you have that shootout, and the Dolman or Deliman, what the fuck are those guys called? You know what I'm talking about? The robots that drive the cars.
Oh yeah, the Delmains.
Yeah, if you tell them to like send Jackie's body back to his family because they deserve to be able to like bury their son or whatever, then you can unlock an optional funeral that you can actually play for him, and it's absolutely crushing.
Yeah, did not know. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is so great about this game because there's lots of decisions that you can make,
Yes,
and I would say like at least a lot of the ones that I have, there are definitely some consequential decisions that you can make, but
absolutely.
some of
Like I
them
just
are
explained one.
yeah, yeah, and but then there are a lot that are like story consequences, but not anything that necessarily affects you. Um, and I think some of that stuff is really kind of interesting. Just the lore and the background stuff, and just kind of how things
Hmm.
can just vary subtly a lot of times, just based on the
Yes,
choices that you make. Um, yeah, I think that is definitely one thing that they did really well with it. Yeah, I think that a lot of honestly a lot of the characterizations I think and the writing I think they've done a very good job with too.
absolutely.
Um, I feel like most of the characters, you even if you don't like them, you can at least appreciate the amount of time and effort that went into them. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's all really excellent. The one thing I don't know why it just reminded me of it. Speaking of
Yeah,
driving, I suppose one thing that I think is actually like my least favorite part of this game is driving.
that's understandable. The driving is a little uh
It's like
not that great. It's
yeah, it's like
fine,
driving
but
on an
it's
ice
like
skating rink all the time.
yeah, yeah.
Like you overcompensate too hard. Next thing you know, you like flipped around and did like a 180.
So I will
And it's
ask,
like
do you have any motorcycles?
yeah, the motorcycles are much better.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Um,
motorcycles handle really well. I like them. That's what I drive basically when I'm playing
yeah,
that
that's
game.
all I drive too. I drive motorcycles. I got some sexy cars, don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
motorcycles are the my favorite. And not to mention too, like they're narrower. You can weave in and out of traffic so much easier. They're better at handling. So it definitely is the better choice when you're like trying to get around, especially too when you get to Dogtown if you're gonna do like the Phantom Liberty stuff.
Yes.
Cars really suck there, and motorcycles are useful. Like you can drive them in a lot of places you could not drive cars. So that is really nice there. Um, what else do I have to say about this game? I mean, there's a lot going on.
Please do speak away. I'm like very interested in hearing your thoughts because I feel like this is probably your first time playing a game kind of like this. And there's plenty of them out there, but I do know that you are mostly a Nintendo gamer, so you probably haven't experienced a lot of things like this. I do think this is one of the best first games like this to experience. I would also highly recommend the Fallout series if you ever get a chance to play New Vegas or 3 or even 4. They're very, very good as well. Yeah, that's all about
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
But
I think that in a lot of ways, I actually think Indiana Jones is actually probably one of the closest
very
games
much
that
so.
I've played to this.
It is.
And Mass Effect in some ways too.
Mass Effect
Um,
absolutely is, and that is a fantastic series.
Yeah, and I mean, I've played through both of those. I mean, you know, things that I like about this, you know, better than say like Mass Effect. I feel
Hmm.
like, a your decisions matter much sooner.
Yes.
Like it's, you know, Mass Effect. I feel like a lot of the decisions you're making, it's kind of like the long payoff.
Yeah,
Whereas this,
definitely.
you know, it's kind of like it's pretty immediate.
Hmm.
Everything's kind of very centralized. It's not. It's RPG, but it's not too RPG
I
either.
hope I hope Baldur's Gate 3 comes to Switch too, because I do think you would really enjoy Baldur's Gate 3. It is very RPG. Obviously, it's a strategy RPG, but it is one of those games where it has a lot of the decision making aspects of things like Cyberpunk, like, but it's
Mhm.
like even more advanced with the sheer amount of decisions and like repercussions for making said decisions. So I know Divinity 2 just released on PS5, and that one is also made by the same people that made Baldur's Gate. That's also another really good game like that.
Yeah. Um, what was I gonna say? But yeah, I mean, I like how it gives you a lot of different ways to approach things. Like it's like, oh, get in this
Hmm.
building, and it's like, well, you can go and find someone with a key card. You
Yep.
can hack the door. You can, you know, in some cases, it will give you the option just to like strong arm it if you have the right like stats. You know,
Hmm.
either by strength or by like technical skills.
You ever played
Sometimes
Deus
it's
Ex?
no, I assume that this is
Oh,
probably
oh my
somewhere
God!
along.
Play Deus Ex if you ever can. It's so fucking good. It has a lot of elements of that sort of thing.
Well, we're
And
getting that
again,
remake.
very
Yeah.
cyberpunk. So there's that as well. I mean, I guess I would also mention something like Hitman. The Hitman series also has a lot of
Mhm.
things like that. Your choices obviously don't really matter from a story perspective, but you can make a lot of decisions that change the way you play a certain level, which allows for a lot of replayability of any individual level in Hitman. So,
Mhm.
yeah. But the Deus Ex Human Revolution, like Mankind Divided series, those games are phenomenal for this sort of thing. And honestly, Cyberpunk is the closest thing to those kind of games that I think I've seen in a very long time. Obviously, Deus Ex, the original, is also very good. And in case you didn't know, that actually has been indefinitely delayed because people are like, this looks like absolute dog shit, and
Oh,
it
the Deus
doesn't
Ex
run well.
remake.
Yeah, they were like, this looks awful, and you should feel bad. And the developer surprisingly was like, you know what? I do. I'm canceling this for now. I'll get back to you.
Oh yeah. Da, da, da.
But those are what are known as immersive sims. Those are, and that's also what Indiana Jones is. Indiana Jones is also an immersive sim
Mhm.
in a way. So that's the kind of thing you're playing there. Something that allows you to handle different handle missions differently and have different outcomes based on the way you do it.
Yeah.
That's sort of what an
Mhm.
immersive sim is. A lot of it has to do with like verticality and lots of different choices. Now, I mean, obviously, Cyberpunk is just a straight up RPG. Um,
Mhm.
but it has a lot of immersive sim elements to it because of the way that you handle mission stuff. So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Um,
I am
yeah, but I
so excited that you like enjoy this game because this is like such a really good game and such a really interesting game to have as your like first kind of introduction to games sort of like this.
yeah, I mean it is a great game. I mean, like I said, I've really been enjoying it. I just don't know. My thing is, how long is or where do I put that? How do I word this right?
Hmm.
I just don't know, like, how for me how long it's how well it's going to fare the test of time.
Yeah,
Because I'm
understandable.
really enjoying it right now, but I'm in the middle of it. Like where we'll be in like 3 months. Well, I'll be like, okay, I'm done. I'm never coming back to this again. Or I'll still be like, oh yeah, I want to go back and through and play this again.
Well, I
Like I
mean,
always felt similarly about Mass Effect, but
hmm
the thing is, Mass Effect, like as much as I enjoyed it, I liked it so much I never wanted to go back and play it again. As weird as that sounds.
hmm hmm
Um, because it's too daunting. Like 3 games is a lot to
that's true.
kind
That's
of
true.
commit to get through that whole story. But also too, it's kind of like in my mind, you have your shepherd the way it is, and
Hmm.
so like going through and playing it again is going to give you something very different, and who knows what that is. Um, so those are kind of things that I think about there too. I do also think that in some ways this is a proof of concept for what two humans should have been or
Yeah,
could have been.
I kind of feel the same way. Now
Mm-hmm.
that you've mentioned that, um,
Because it has
that
a lot of
game,
the stuff that they really talked about concept wise, like, oh, where's your humanity? And you're getting all these,
yeah,
these
yeah,
implants that are kind of, changing the way that, you approach humanity and other people. And that's kind of a big kind of story focus in this game in a lot of ways
I can
too.
actually say like the phrase "chrome up chum," and you'll actually know what I'm talking about now. That's fucking hilarious to me.
Say what?
I can say like the phrase "chrome up chum," and you'll know what I'm fucking
Oh,
talking about now, and that's fucking hilarious to me. I just thought about that out loud.
some of the slang in this game I do really appreciate. Um, so there's that. What else was I gonna say? I just had something else that was just on the tip of my mind.
I have a
Um,
question for you,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So I know you're enjoying the game, and I know you're enjoying the setting, at least from the sounds of it. Because, like, I guess I really haven't asked you how do you feel about Night City and like the setting of this game. Uh, do you like it? Do you think it's a good setting? How do you what
Yeah,
do you
I
think?
like it. Honestly, I think this is one of the most real feeling cities I've ever experienced in a game.
Hmm.
Like it feels like an actual lived in city.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
like I and I yeah, I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5, so I don't really know how that compares on that side of things. But
It definitely feels like it's lived in as well, but there's far more like this is a point of interest like areas in GTA 5 in my opinion, but the actual story I think takes you to so many different places that it makes it feel lived in as well. But there's a lot of
yeah,
places obviously in Cyberpunk as well that literally nothing is going on inside those buildings that you enter. It's just
yeah,
window
there's nothing going
dressing,
on,
but
but
you
the
can
thing
go
is though,
there.
like they exist. Yeah, exactly, and that's the big difference. Like, it's like, oh, here's an abandoned like hotel or
Hmm.
whatever apartment building. It's got
Yeah,
like three different floors with all these different rooms, and you can go in the rooms. There's nothing going on here. Like but you can go in, you can
yeah,
walk around, you can go and see things. Like the amount of like time in development is just kind of wild. Like,
yeah.
you know,
You can
we
see why
always
it
talk
took so
about,
long. This game was like announced in like
oh, it's like
2012,
2013.
2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Hmm.
Um, and like this game took a very very long time to come out, and it was still rushed in a
Yeah.
sense. That's
It came
why
out in a
it
very
released in the
janky.
state that
Mhm.
it did. Um, and it took them several years to get that squared away and actually have their like sort of No Man's Sky moment, where they were able to turn it all around and make the game they wanted to make. So, but yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, I really like, I mean, I think the city's great. I think it's very traversable. I think it's very explorable. I think that I mean, the outskirts, sure, like there's really
yeah.
nothing going on there, but you really don't have much reason to go out there.
There's actually a
Um,
lot of world building in the city without the game being like, hey, here's the world building, here's the story. Like you can go to like an
mhm.
abandoned hotel and you could see like the shady goings on that are going there and kind of put two and two together as to why that place is abandoned more or less. You got people that are fucking fiending in there or whatever. You got this, that, and the other. You got like prostitution and stuff going on in some places that you can very clearly tell are, especially if you go into like places like the red light district and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like you can see all of this stuff, and like most of the time, no mission is going to take you to some place like that. It's just some place you can find off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
there's some things in this game that I'm going to say. None of what I'm about to say is a story mission at all.
Mhm.
You just kind of find it. Uh, there is a murder suicide cult in this game that has a long, huge storyline that is not anywhere in a story mission. You just can kind of find it if you look. And then that goes off to a whole fucking rabbit hole of craziness. And there's a lot of things you can do there. And there was actually like a huge like ARG built into the game to do with this that extends out into other CD Projekt Red games as well. And then puts a whole nother like perspective into the game just in general as to what the fuck is going on. So and it's like little things like that you're not really being led by the hand to. It's just something you can find that really makes this game feel more like alive. And there is other games that have done things like that. Like there was a whole thing in GTA 5 with a serial killer that again, no main mission, no nothing. You can just stumble across it, and then you start off on like a series of tasks that kind of informs you about the serial killer. And you can kind of do the same thing here, but I do think it goes like far more in depth here in Cyberpunk. And there's so many little things like that are just in the world because the world is kind of its own character, to for
Yeah.
lack of a better word.
Yeah, like I was watching a YouTube video about just kind of some things. And just kind of like there was what was just that I don't remember what it was. Something like, oh, things you might miss, in Cyberpunk. And it wasn't like things you might miss like weapons. It was like things you might miss in like world building and design. And I thought it was really interesting because the guy started out the video, he basically was like, here's a picture from my gym. And it was just like a picture of a bench at its corner, like, kind of like going, like at a right angle, just kind of the corner there. And it's like, you can see this picture, like, oh, here's a scoop from a protein shake, and here is, this other thing that someone left there. And he's like, he's like, this is, a shitty picture of my shitty gym, but he's like, there's a lot of world building in this, in this picture. It's like, oh, what happened to this guy and his protein shake? Obviously, people are doing this, whatever. Oh, I think the other thing was like maybe like someone's strap was hanging out from like one of the lockers or something. Um, like things like this. And he's like, in Cyberpunk has a lot of this stuff. And he's like, look at these little tubes over these things with these fish in them. Is like, you might think that it's like, oh, it has to do with the restaurant, but it's like, these are attached to buildings that don't serve food. So he's like, that's not what it is. He's
Yep.
like, these are just like little aquariums that they just built for no fucking reason. And he's like, look at this. He's like, look at this tree. He's like, you see all this equipment coming off this tree? These are things that help these electronics are helping this tree grow and survive in
Mhm.
Night City.
Have you
The game
seen
never brings any attention to it.
the
It's
like
like
glass rooms
someone spent time there. Hey,
that
what?
have like the like glass rooms that have like greenery that you can like go into and everything?
I don't think so. At least not off the top of my head.
Okay, so there are some around the world, right?
Mhm.
And the literal reason they were built is because of the hustle and the bustle and all the technology and everything. They're literally relaxation, like shut yourself off rooms that you can go into to feel like not so overwhelmed by everything that's going on all at once at all times, because everything's always neon lights flashing, cars driving down the streets and this, that, and the other happening, and all these like very tech based things. But then they have these glass rooms of nothing but like serene, like forests that you can go inside of that are specifically there to just like reset yourself, essentially.
Mhm.
And that's just a bit of world building in the world. Like there's no mission that will ever take you to these. There's nothing that ever like even says like, hey, I need to go into these or anything like that. You'll just sometimes show up in them, and then offhandedly you'll see some people that are like walking around, and will go in there and just stay in there for a bit and then leave. And
Mhm.
there's some writing somewhere in the game that mentions that there are these like relaxation rooms slash like rooms that were made specifically for people that are overwhelmed by all the noise and the technology and everything that's going on, or that people that just need a second to reset themselves from everything that's going on in life. And it's like it's just little bits of things like that that really bring the entire game together, and it's really cool.
Oh yeah, no, I think they do some really cool stuff with the world building. I mean, even too, like they were. What was another thing that they talked about? There apparently there's one clothes store you can go to,
Yes.
and if you like go there the first time, you just buy clothes like normal. But apparently,
Mhm.
like if you leave and come back at a different time, like
Mhm.
it'll trigger a mission where like the clothes store is be robbed, is being robbed.
Yep.
Um, and the person in the
I
video is like, most people will never see this,
Yep.
never. Like
You know what's
you,
also really cool about that mission?
hmm,
Because that's also like an Easter egg mission. The woman that comes to you after saving the clothing store is the first woman that you ever saw in the very first trailer that introduced Cyberpunk 2077 for the first time ever. It's the debut trailer person that shows up after you finish that mission.
yes, I heard about that, and they even
Hmm.
pointed out too, and they're like, yep, this is the person in this trailer, and they're like, this is what they were talking about in the trailer, and this is where things are now. They're like,
Hmm.
you could also make a lot of story building assumptions just from point A to point B.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I think that's all like really interesting. I think that they did a great job with that aspect of it too. Even like there's just so many like random little things that you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like Skippy, fucking love Skippy. Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about Skippy?
I don't know actually.
So there's a unique gun you can get with the it has its own built-in AI, and
Oh, okay. I didn't know this had a name.
yeah,
Okay,
it kind of
continue.
reminds me of um the paperclip from the
Microsoft Word.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, even things like Skippy, where it's like this little word paperclip kind of AI thing.
Hmm.
And it talks to you as a conversation and will throw out like these fun facts at you. And then just randomly at some point it triggers its own mission. And just it's one of those things. You have to use it. You have to know to do these things to have it. But yeah, if you weren't using it, it wasn't a gun you ever used. You never get that extra mission. Like it just you missed it. Um, but I like that, and I really like the kind of thought that they put into a lot of the technology stuff in this game.
Hmm.
Because it does seem like it's, I mean, honestly, the way that this world is headed, we aren't too far away from Skippy. Uh, just with like random AI being added onto everything with its own personality and thoughts and opinions. Um, but I think that's all like excellent. Like I think that they did a great job with a lot of the kind of the forethought on that side of things, and just kind of the way everything kind of interweaves into each other there too. Um, yeah, I think that's all great on that side of things. I mean, I will say, just for what it's worth, I have still hit some jank in this game.
Hmm.
I don't think it's like Switch 2 jank. I think it's this massive world with all these
I
overlapping
was gonna
systems
say,
jank.
I feel like that is a very common thing with any open world game.
Mm.
Any open world game is going to have jank.
Yeah,
It's just how much, and how much is it going to affect your actual enjoyment of said game?
yeah, and I would say the stuff that I've run into, like, yeah, I think I've had what? Well, I think one soft freeze, two full crashes.
Ooh,
Um,
that's really not very good in my opinion. I think if you've released on console, you should be able to at least avoid those, unless you were doing something very specific to cause this. Like, do
yeah,
you
and I
know
think it's
when this happened or how this happened?
just randomly. Honestly, I think I think it just I don't even know what I would say. I don't know if it was just just running the game and the different processes too long,
Mm-hmm.
um, or different
Because
things
like,
like that.
so it's like sometimes crashes. Sorry, I can't. Sometimes crashes can be like because of being on like taking off and on of like sleep mode too
Yeah,
often. That will
could be
happen
something
with
like that.
some games.
Hmm.
I know it happened initially with the Steam Deck version, and it got patched. So I don't know if it was something like that. So that's why I was wondering if you had like an example of when the crash happened or the
Oh, I mean, it could
freeze.
be. I mean, the game's pretty much been running on my Switch nonstop, in
Nonstop
and out of
since you
sleep
got,
mode.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't really it just I would even say like when it happens just so random that I just was not like I was doing any particular thing. When I went back to do it again, like no
Yeah.
issues. Um it does strike me more as like what you said, like it's probably just been like, hey, the game just needs some time to be off.
Hmm.
Um like those kind of things. The soft freeze was actually it was weird because that one was actually like a fail. Like I flatlined and it was just reloading the last save and it just sat there and just idled for like 10 minutes and I'm like, this is never loading. We're just gonna
Ah,
reboot
I
it.
see. See.
So there's that kind of thing. And then yeah, then you just have your kind of just your random kind of like jank things like, you hit an enemy and he just keeps sliding across the floor into infinity, or people disappearing through things, or like those kind of things. Those kind of things, like I said, in this game, in this scale of game, like
Hmm.
unavoidable. But honestly, like I said, for my nearly 50 hours of gameplay in this game, I really think that it runs overall pretty well,
Yeah,
aside from like
that's
most of
great
those things.
news. Great
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, and I would say frame rate definitely ticks a bit harder in some of the areas in Dogtown, I would notice. Um,
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well. I haven't done any of the Dogtown stuff yet. I know that the DLC was a much more uh, like resource intensive than
mhm.
the original Cyberpunk because it was built for next gen hardware. Like if you look, Dogtown and the entire DLC of Cyberpunk 2077 was not released on anything other than PS5, PC, and Xbox Series consoles. It's not, or
Yeah,
and
apparently they
now Switch
stopped
too.
supporting the the legacy systems like a while ago.
Yes.
Um, so they stopped receiving patches like years ago. Um, so not terribly surprising on that side of things. But I said, I mean, overall, I find it playable. I don't think it's a hindrance there. Sometimes I think the blur gets me a little much,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah,
that's actually probably because of what's it called? 30 FPS with motion blur turned on
Mhm.
will be noticeable. Which I'm not knocking them. I mean, it's amazing that this game runs at all on a Switch too, especially as well as it does. But as you have a lower frame rate, the act of having motion blur turned on, per object motion blur as well as just motion blur overall, becomes more noticeable because of the lower frame rate. That's just kind of
Mhm.
how it works.
Yeah, it makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just think that this game's just wonderful, and every time I find something there, then it's just like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of new things that kind of come along with it.
Hmm.
I do think the game maybe takes maybe too much of a hands-off approach in teaching you some of the systems. Like there's a lot
Mm.
going on that it just does not tell you. But I also found that I learned a lot of it just very organically. Like the game doesn't really tell you. I didn't really have to look things up, but you just can kind of use visual clues and your things to kind of be like, okay, this is what this is trying to tell me. This is this.
Hmm.
Um, Also, kind of side thought there too. I actually think this game is one of the best map systems I think I've ever seen in a game. Like, period. Like, it runs very well. Like the GPS, like the navigation stuff is very good. And I really like the dynamic map because I feel like
Mm.
most of the time, like even with something like Pokemon ZA, which has a very basic city structure comparatively,
Hmm.
um, like a lot of times I'm trying to find things on map and I'm like zooming in and out and turning things on and off, and I'm like, I can't find this fucking thing I'm looking for.
Hmm.
Um, I really like that this dynamic map that they use. Like it's like, okay, here's the important things that are in this area, but as you zoom out, it's just gonna just focus more and more on just the most important things and kind of filter away like the things that you may not be looking for.
Yeah.
Which is super handy. Like it's nice to be like, okay, I'm going to look for this tarot card on the other side of the city. Um, then that's what I'm heading for. And it's kind of there.
Yeah.
So I like all that there too. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Nudity. That's what I want to talk about.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
that kind of hits you out the gate with just nudity right in your face in this game.
It does, but you know what? Actually, I think, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I'm kind of curious with your opinion. I actually don't think they go far enough with it. I
Interesting.
think that they took a very actually, I think they took a very weak stance on it overall. I mean, the nudity's there, obviously, like
I
it's
mean,
one of
you
the
could you
first
could just
things
take
you
off
do,
your pants and run around naked if you want, and have the whole thing flopping around if you if you so
but you
choose.
can't. Um, you can't do that. I don't know if that was in the original game, but that is not a thing that exists anymore in this
I
game.
felt like that was a thing. Am I
Uh, if you take
misremembering?
your clothes off, you have underwear on all the time. There's no way around it. If you go to the character select screen and take your clothes off, you could be naked, but in the real world,
Oh,
you
okay.
are always
You're
wearing
right.
clothes.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
Um, and
It
that's
was the
kind of where
character
the issue
select screen.
comes in with where
Uh
I'm
huh.
going with this, because I think that there's some things that they should have actually like went harder with the nudity because it's more fitting for the game world,
Hmm.
than kind of Barbie pantsing, some of these characters.
I see.
Like for example, like in that kind of first mission, I think you talked about it like last week or maybe earlier this episode too. Um, but the one where it's like, oh, you got to get this woman out of this ice bathtub, and she's naked, but
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Like the other people in the bathtub, like they're wearing underwear. Like you're not gonna go and chop up these people and kill them and take their cybernets out and be like, well, we don't want nudity here. Um, they're gonna take everything. Like it's one of those
I
weird things where
feel
it doesn't
like
make any
this
sense.
is definitely a this option was chosen because at the time PS4 the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch generation and everything, I felt like they were heavily trying to make this game for console players, and when it comes to nudity on console games, there are a lot of restrictions
Oh yeah,
to it, and it's very easy to put too much into it and cause you to get a AO rating. And then how do people buy your game? Like
yep.
legitimately,
Mhm.
how do people buy your game? I do think if this was just a PC game, Obviously, you wouldn't be playing it, and that would be bad. But I do think if this was just a PC game that they were making, there would be a lot less, um, let's say, compromises when it
Yeah.
comes to more adult-oriented features, and some of the more there's some really fucked up shit that happens in this game, but you read about it, you don't really see it.
Yeah.
But I do think a lot more would have probably been shown if it wasn't for the fact that it was being heavily marketed as a console game as well. So I think
Yeah,
that may
that
have
definitely
something
could
to
be
do with it.
could definitely be a factor there too. I mean, although it does really just kind of come out of the gate with it as well. I mean, let me just say too, like up front, like I'm not looking for like a sex simulator in this game,
Oh yeah,
like nothing
obviously.
like that. But I'm just saying, like, if you were watching a movie and they were going through the same thing, like, those people wouldn't be wearing just like underwear.
And what was that?
Um,
What was that one movie that like it was very cyberpunk-ish and
the
uh
Matrix.
no. It was also like very heavily like there's lots of nudity and things in it. Deus Ex Machina, was that what it was called? Ex Machina, was that it?
I
Yeah,
don't
Ex
know.
Machina. Ex Machina. That movie is very in your face with the nudity and sexual themes and whatnot. And that's what I would like say Cyberpunk is the most like, and probably where they wanted the game to be like content wise initially before they had to start
Yeah.
pulling
Mhm.
back some.
And I would say too, like even with this and the nudity stuff, like I don't even think that it needs to go like like over the top. Like I mean, this
Yeah,
is a very sexualized game as it is.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you could
like
tell from like even the what do you call it? Like billboards, for instance, around the
yeah.
world.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think that this game, I think like there are definitely story moments where like and this is kind of the thought that I think if you want to have like a really kind of tasteful kind of approach to nudity in video games,
Hmm.
which kind of like you've touched on, it's really has been kind of like a forbidden fruit for generations. Everyone's been too scared to go into it because they're too afraid of surpassing the M rating. Um, but I do think that there's some opportunities, like I said, just it just in a story sense, just in terms of like trying to portray what they're trying to show in this world, to use it more tactfully than they did with this. Like I said, you don't need to be like, oh, we're gonna go on full on show on sex scenes.
Hmm.
No, but like I said, there's some
I do
things
think
here
there
too,
were
especially with these
elements where
body
that
changes.
probably, like maybe the brain dances, for instance, because like you're in a shady underground place where they're giving you these things that are
Hmm.
essentially, seeing. And also there's like the whole brain dance that people were selling like on the black market of like people's last moments. I think they
Yeah.
could have went harder with those elements, like way harder. So
Hmm. Oh, definitely, I agree. Um, So it'll be interesting to see how they approach it with a sequel, because I do think that they have at least kind of they've crossed that threshold.
hmm.
The doors opened. So, kind of depending on what they want to do with it, I think that could be very interesting.
So I have a
Because I do think that that is a space in video games that has not been explored and can be done well. So
okay. So I have a
with the right
question for you
developer.
now.
Yeah.
You clearly really like the world of Cyberpunk, and you really
Mhm.
like this game. Are you gonna watch the anime?
I don't know. I randomly like I was I randomly got a mission where they're like, oh, look at this brain dance. And I'm like, okay, sure. And it was like a scene from the anime. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
I highly, highly recommend watching the anime. Even people that I know that don't like anime that like Cyberpunk really like the anime. And there's a lot of context that can be given further to the actual game Cyberpunk 2077 through the anime, because they did retroactively add things into the game after the anime came out to actually connect the two.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I was looking into it. So it's definitely something I would consider down the road for sure.
Hmm.
It looked like there's, I think, 10 episodes. They're on
Yeah,
Netflix.
there
Mhm.
there there's only 10, and that's it. It's the end. There was a season 2 announced, but once season 2 is definitely going to be a totally different story, totally different characters. So like once you see these 10 episodes, you're done. You don't have to worry about anything else. You that's all you need. So it's fairly easy to get through. It's like 20 minutes an episode or so.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's a very, very good anime, and I think you would like it since you like the game so much already.
Yeah, I think that would be really. I was already thinking about checking it out, so I probably will at some point. But who
Mm-hmm.
knows? I'm too busy with the game. Um, but yeah, definitely something that I will look into a little bit further. What else? Do you have anything else to say about this?
I mean, I don't know. You've said a lot. We've spent a literal hour talking about Cyberpunk.
Oh, have we? Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I guess we have. Um, yeah, but I don't know. The game's really good. That's really the moral of the story. So, yeah, I think I touched on all the big stuff that I wanted to at
Did you
least.
finish the main story? Like, since you said, like, you mentioned being in Dogtown, did you finish the main story?
Oh, fuck no. As
Okay,
I
okay.
think I said it a little bit earlier, but I estimate that I'm probably somewhere around the middle of the game.
I didn't know you
Um,
could go to Dogtown without finishing the main story. Interesting.
no, so Dogtown opens up. You have to progress the main story to a point.
Uh huh.
Then Dogtown opens up
Okay.
in Act Two at some point. Um, and then you can do it. The game, at least from what I've read, they encourage you to do the Phantom Liberty stuff pretty early.
Okay.
So because you get some stuff that's helpful later in the game, so the faster you go in there, the more you actually have access to those things. Like there's a new skill tree it opens up, and obviously some new mission types and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So having those able to be done earlier is better, is what I read.
Okay.
So you
That's
can
neat.
wait till closer to the end of the game, but there's also some ending stuff that can be tied to the the
DLC of
missions
Phantom
as well.
Liberty.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
See, I've never played Phantom Liberty. I
mhm.
own it, but I have not played the Phantom Liberty DLC. Mostly because I played through the main story and whatnot. So after I did that, I then got the Phantom Liberty DLC, but I didn't know how to go about opening it or starting or when I should or if I should start a new game or whatnot. You know, there's a lot there, so I'm not really sure what I should do, and I never got around to playing Phantom Liberty. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and actually, even to that second point too, at least from what people videos what I was saying saw online, they recommended like if you want to do it and not looking to pick up from an old save that you had, they recommend starting a new game and going in that way.
Hmm.
So they say don't do the start with Phantom Liberty option. They say start a new game. You can rush to the Act One stuff if you really want to, but if you just start right into the Phantom Liberty stuff, it makes some choices for you, and then it will just kind of like distribute your skill points in ways that you may not want them to. So they say like start over the game. It's a better way to do it. So yeah. Do I have anything else? I think that's it. That's all I got for now. I'm sure I'll think other things later. But yeah, unless you had any other questions for me, any other things
No,
you want to know
I
about.
think that's it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What have you been playing?
So I played. I'm gonna first talk about the games I played a little bit of, and then
Mhm.
go into the ones that I played a lot. So I played Absolum, which
Mhm.
is actually a roguelike beat 'em up, and essentially this plays a lot like I think the easiest thing I would say is like the Scott Pilgrim game, where there's clearly a structure as to where you go and whatnot, and character development. Like you can actually like kind of build your character.
Mhm.
But this is a roguelike here. I don't know a whole lot about this game yet, but it's been pretty cool. There's a lot of storytelling through the actual like environment as you go along, and I'm like hearing like enemies say like certain things, and I've like fought goblins, but I've also like fought the people that are fighting the goblins in some of them, and then like I've gone into houses and people have like shouted like, "Oh my god, it's worse than the goblin, it's a wizard." So the the plot is basically the wizards were like cast out, like destroyed, and you're one of the last remaining ones, and you and your group is. and you
Mhm.
also freed this one like god basically that makes it so you can't die. You'll always just be reborn, and you're
Mhm.
trying to get revenge for everything that happened to your people. And it plays like a beat 'em up, but as you progress through it, you will learn different moves, different abilities, and stuff. And you'll also, as you're playing your runs, you'll get things like, hey, if you hit an enemy, you'll put them in like a bubble that will bounce a few times, then pop and deal like a bunch of damage to them and anything that's around them. And you'll build your runs out so that you can get further and further, defeating bosses and going along the way. And essentially, the whole point is to beat the game in one run. And I have not done that yet, but it has been really fun playing this one. This was gifted to me. It was to me for Christmas by some friends, and it's I didn't really hear much about it other than the fact that it was a beat 'em up and it was a roguelike, and that was enough for me to be like, yep, I want to play that. I love roguelikes, you know how that is. And
Oh
I
yeah.
also quite like beat 'em up games as well. So seeing this was just kind of right up my alley. So um, if someone wouldn't have gifted this me, if someone wouldn't have gifted me this, I probably would have bought it myself. In all honesty, it's really neat. So yeah, really really good game. Highly recommend it. It kind of flew under the radar. It's a nice little indie darling kind of thing that just appeared out of nowhere around October. Made by Emu, which also put out the excellent Cosmic Invasion, which was a Marvel game that came out this year, and several other games like Ninja Gaiden, Ragebound, and stuff like that, and Shredder's Revenge. So they've got a pedigree with making pretty damn good games. So
Mhm.
or putting out pretty damn good games that are very old school, and I recommend playing it. It's been really really fun. The bit that I have played. Moving on from that, I will talk about Warriors Abyss. So Warriors Abyss is it's its own thing, but it borrows from everything else to make it its own thing. That's the easiest way to explain it. So
Mhm.
this is a Dynasty Warriors game, Koei Tecmo, and it's a top-down Dynasty Warriors game that plays like Hades and Vampire Survivors combined together. There's like
Okay.
110 characters. Um, you are the soul of one of the like either cast of Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, or other Koei Tecmo games, such as like Nobunaga's Ambition or whatever, and you've been summoned by the ruler of hell essentially to try to defeat someone who has taken it over. And this is a roguelike. Wow. Surprise, surprise. And
Mhm.
it's a top-down hack and slash where, it's kind of like just playing Dynasty Warriors, because when you play a Dynasty Warriors or a Warriors game in general, you press like YY or whatever button and do like a combination, and when you do it in a certain fashion, you do different moves and whatnot. It's the same thing. It's literally just a Dynasty Warriors game, but with a top-down perspective like Hades instead of a 3D perspective like normal Dynasty Warriors games. And it's really really fun. I played this one a lot. I have beaten this one like 3 or 4 times. Each run takes like 30-40 minutes if you complete the run. So
Mhm.
it doesn't take a long to like win one, but there's so many different characters and there's so many different things that work together. And the way it works is as you're going through and fighting these like hordes of hell and whatnot to go on to the next room and just so on and so forth. Those you'll be given like a thing at the end of each room, and sometimes you'll be able to call upon other heroes and like build like an army, a team that helps support you, and that team you can call upon them to do like a special attack, or you can hold down a certain attack of yours, and when you do that you summon them there to help you when fighting. And different characters from different series have different like attributes. Like there might be one that has like slay, and the slay attribute makes it so there's a percent chance that whenever you attack an enemy it'll just instantly kill them.
Mhm.
And you want to build your character by bringing all these different other characters from going from room to room into your army, which powers you up and causes you to do more damage, but it also causes your attacks to do different things when you do them. So as you're going through these rooms, as you're getting more people and adding them to your army, you're becoming stronger, but you're also having them join you and you can summon them, but also it'll change the way you fight. And there's just a lot going on here, but the main like bones of this game is it is a Dynasty Warriors game. So it is a Warriors game with a bunch of other characters from other Koei Tecmo games, and it plays like Hades, and the like leveling system is that of something like a Vampire Survivors, where you kill enemies and you pick up like their souls. Souls level your character up, and then you're able to do more things, and you get stronger by doing that. Essentially, really, really good game. I got lost in this one. I put like 10 plus hours into it, beat it multiple times, and really, really enjoyed my time with this game. It's super fun. It was announced in like a random either PlayStation Direct or Nintendo Direct. I don't remember which one it was. And then it just released that day. I did not play it until literally like a few days ago. But this one, I have not seen a lot of people talk about it at all. But it's an absolute blast, especially if you're a fan of like the original Warriors games, like Samurai Warriors and Dynasty Warriors. Because like I said, there's like hundreds of characters in here, and you can build so many different teams and make your gameplay so different on each individual run that it's so fun, and there's so much to do there. So yeah, that was my other game that I played a lot. And then there's the one that you said like this is just a word salad for the title, which is called Mythical Concept STARNAUT. So this game is made by the developers of El Shaddai, which is a game from the Xbox 360, which is its own can of worms. It's a very artistic and very abstract sort of game from the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era that not a lot of people remember, or if you do, then you probably are part of like the cult that loved this game. Now, this developer doesn't really do that much, speak of, but they did their own Vampire Survivors clone, because I love Vampire Survivors clone. But this one's mixed with something like Risk of Rain, for instance, and it's a 3D style game. So, again, sort of like Mega Bonk that I've talked about this year. But there's a lot more going on here. I didn't know this was a $30 game because my buddy gifted it to me because it's on sale for like $6 right now. But yeah, there's an overarching story and like a whole plot and like a lot of different explanations for what's going on in this world. Like the world and the universe has been like completely destroyed. It like tries to be deep, but the story's really, really weird for like a Vampire Survivors clone slash Risk of Rain clone. And it's odd that it takes itself so incredibly seriously. But that's just kind of what this developer does. The main reason I actually wanted this game is it has a like full on crossover with Vampire Survivors. So it's not just a clone, it's been endorsed by Vampire Survivors, and it has its own Vampire Survivors levels and characters that are crossover with this game. So I wanted to play this because of that, and this game is really weird. Like, it is so weird, it's so difficult to explain what this game is. There are, like, satellites that come down, and you have to activate all the satellites, and you have to destroy a certain amount of enemies and make a certain amount of money by killing those enemies before you can launch those satellites. And every single level, you have to launch 10 of them. And as you progress through the level, more enemies like flood your screen and attack you, and more stuff happens until it's just like a mess of constant barrages of just bullets being shot at you and enemies trying to attack you and all this other stuff all combined into one. And it gets super overwhelming very, very quickly. And you're just trying to send all these these rocket ships back off in space, get all 10 of them, and then that's how you beat a level. Um,
Okay.
so it's odd. As you're leveling up in this game, you don't only level up your weapons, but you also level up your character at the same time. So you'll level up like speed and health. But you also have this thing that allows you to like blast off with like jet engines that are attached to you because you are an astronaut or a starnaut in this case because you're traveling from different star systems and whatnot. And this allows you to like just launch yourself and speed across the map. So the booster makes it so you can get from one side of the map to the other side very, very quickly. And at times you will be so overwhelmed by enemies that you absolutely need to do that. You need to like upgrade your booster and your character's health and the ability to pick up items. And every run is kind of like building your character, but you're also building your weapon set, and it can get super overwhelming super quickly. I feel like this game is relatively unheard of. I'd never even heard of it until it randomly showed up on a like recommended for you list. You know
Mm-hmm.
how sometimes when you like buy a game or play a game a lot or a genre of game, you'll get like recommendations of other games in that genre or whatever. That's what this is, and I sent it to you. So you can like look at it. It's very unique and very weird the way it's designed. You have different like astronaut helmets and different astronaut helmets that you select at the beginning of every run, and they give you different stats and boosts and all of that good jazz. And it's just there's so much to this, and it looks like an absolute mess at all moments and times because of the sheer amount of things that are on the screen, either attacking you or that you're attacking. And you can get very powerful very quickly, but you can also get very overrun very quickly. This game's actually kind of hard, in my opinion. Like, it can be very difficult to get yourself set up, but after you beat a run, you get like stat bonuses. You get like points you can permanently put into like stat bonuses for all of your characters, and that's helped me a lot. So sometimes, even if I fail a run or if I beat like a lower end run, I can then take that and go back to the main menu and like boost my character there and use that as a way to beat later runs. And there's a lot here. Like, I think there's like 40 or 60 stages, and then there's also stages that you get based off of other games. So yeah, it's a lot for $30, but it's even more of a lot for $6, which is what I got it for.
I say yes. It's a pretty wild looking game.
Yeah, it's very odd. I don't think I've seen anything designed and that looks like this and that takes itself this seriously while still being as abstract and weird as this game is. It feels like something you would have played on like Xbox 360 back in the day that like no one had heard of, but like you would put so many hours into it for the people that actually found it. It feels
Yeah.
like something like that. And it feels like it's just ripped straight out of like the early 2000s, and I mean that as a compliment, not as like a dig at it. So yeah, it's just really weird, and I really like it. I like it a lot. So that's what I've been playing mostly. I also did the expedition and did a lot of stuff in Arc Raiders. Um, I've been playing with other people who've got it, including Katie, because Katie now has Arc Raiders, and we played some of that as well together. And yeah, that game's still fucking excellent. I think I'm now almost at like 160 hours or some shit with how much I've played of that game. So,
Nice.
yep. So it's a lot. It's a lot. I've been playing a lot, but very few things for a lot of time. If that makes any sense. Like, I've been playing like 2 or 3 games, and I've been playing them a lot. I did get another game that I plan on playing, and I want to finish it before Game of the Year. So I'm pretty much going to have to dedicate an entire week to just playing this game because of how long it is. But I also got for Christmas Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Oh, very nice.
So I'm going to be checking that out very soon.
Yeah. Well, you better get cracking. It's already the 30th.
I know, I know. I know Game of the Year's very soon. I know it is. I know it is.
and this is like
Yeah.
100-hour game, so it's pretty much the only thing I get to do for a week. So it is what it is.
Yeah. It will be fine.
I'm actually excited to play it. I've looked into a lot of the game, mostly because I didn't want to play the original to be able to play this one, and I read in multiple places that you don't have to. But I did like a video watch to like get caught up with everything that's going on, so I would know some of the characters and some of the stuff that's going on. So if they show up, I'll be like, hey, okay, gotcha. I understand what this is. I get that character. I know who that is, and yeah, now I've got all of that stuff set up, so I know what. All right, that's it. That's what I've been doing.
That's it. That's all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
There is a bit of news that I don't know if you want to talk about before we end this.
I had one news thing. It might be the
What's your
same
news thing?
thing. Well, no, what's your news thing? You were the one who started.
It's Metroid Prime 4.
Oh no, not my news thing. What's your Metroid Prime news?
So I don't know if you've seen it, but essentially, Metroid Prime 4 is the way it is because they forced Retro to work on Bandai Namco's failed Metroid Prime 4, and that's what this game is built off of, completely. In fact, they didn't get to make the game from scratch that they wanted to make, and the Metroid Prime 4 that we are playing is just a modified version of Namco Bandai's version that they canceled 3 years ago.
Yeah, basically that's kind of what I saw, and it was basically like
it was very open world.
They're like, we know your issues, and
Yeah.
we were aware of development, but we just didn't have the time or the resources to change them.
Yep.
So, which fair, understand. Troubled development. The kind of like I said, I think when we talked about it either last week or 2 weeks ago.
I do think it's ridiculous that they didn't let them build their own, though. That's really stupid, in my opinion. Like, you gotta let people
starting over from scratch.
Yeah, like, you should not be like, yeah, here's the thing we canceled. Work on it. It's like, no, what are you talking about? That's stupid.
It's that whole sunk money fallacy. People fall into it all the time with lots of things in the real life. It's kind of like when people are like this with jobs. Like they'll get stuck in a shitty job and they'll be like, well, but I've already been here for 6 years. Mm-hmm. If I just stick it out a little longer, things will get better. When really a lot of times the correct option is start over and do whatever. I imagine like probably they were early enough in development. Even when they took it over, they probably were like, oh, we can just fix a lot of this stuff. But probably what happened was, development bloat probably happened in other ways. So they were like, oh, we can flesh this out. We can flesh this out. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, now it's been 7 years and we got to get a game out and we got all these disconnected pieces.
And also, like they said, the one that Namco Bandai made was a lot closer to something like Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild was the big thing then, and everyone was like, make a Breath of the Wild clone. So Metroid Prime 4 that was being made by Namco Bandai was very much like Breath of the Wild in its style. That is the reason why the desert exists in the first place, because they were trying to copy something like Breath of the Wild. And it's kind of left over from that in the finished, completed, quote-unquote, version of Metroid Prime 4 that we got given. So,
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I mean, I really do think something like making a open world Metroid game is not necessarily a horrible idea if it's done right.
Yeah, but clearly it wasn't.
No, I know. This was not done right. But I'm saying, like, I think the idea of it could be done right, with the right team and the right resources. Mm-hmm. And I think there's still some glimmers of that existing in the game. Like Miles' dialogue at the beginning is like, yeah, you can go wherever you want to start. But that's not true. Like the game forces you into a very specific order you have to go through things.
Yep.
But obviously it seemed like at one point they were kind of like, yeah, you can go through and do these things and you get, power-ups that will help you in other areas, but you don't necessarily have to do them in any particular order. I think that would be cool, but you have to do it right. And I think probably trying to approach that in the middle of development, not the right time to do it. But I do, like I said, I think that this game, if anything, it did open the door for a sequel. Built the way that more people want it. Not like it's like we all said, this was not a bad game. It was a good game, but it was just not the Metroid game a lot of people wanted. And yeah, I think that it would be interesting to see what they end up doing with this. Hopefully the sales are not so bad that they're like, nope, we're never going back to this again. but yeah, we'll see.
They're pretty bad last I saw, but who's hoping that
Well, we only have the one Japan
Japanese.
numbers, which
Yep,
really
yep.
don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, because as you said, Prime doesn't really sell super well.
No. Mhm.
But Dread did.
Dread did decent over there, but it still
Mhm.
wasn't like gangbusters. I think it did like what 200,000 or something there. But comparatively, like
Maybe.
Metroid Prime Remaster did like 20,000. That was like physical and digital.
Mhm.
So not a big gangbusters there too. And then we also do not know like the digital breakdown. I think for Metroid Prime 4 either. I think it was just retail copies. So yeah, so we will see. Should be interesting though, whatever ends up coming from it. Do you have any other thoughts on the Metroid?
No, I don't. I just wanted to present that information because I thought it was pretty interesting, and it kind of explains some of why Metroid is the way it ended up being.
Oh yeah, and it was exactly what we kind of suspected to some degree. We just didn't expect that they carried Namco's shit around for so long. Yeah, so that was that. What was the other? Oh, I wanted to talk. So my other thing was the this Rainbow Six story, just because I think it's ridiculous.
Oh my god, the hackers that unbanned other hackers and like took over the entire game, basically. That what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one.
That
Took
shit
over the
is
entire game, like
crazy.
yeah, gave everyone like all these like best
billions
weapons
of
and like billions
the
of dollars.
credits, billions of dollars worth of shit for free. Yeah, that's insane. And I don't know how I feel about that because it's like on the one hand, they are shitty hackers and they also unbanned all the other shitty hackers that were ruining the game. On the other hand, they literally made it so the microtransactions don't matter anymore for the people still playing. So that's a very interesting,
Yeah,
thought to
this
have
is
there.
very much a what's the word? I'm like kind of reminded me of like Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, like oh we're gonna save this game. But I don't think they necessarily did the game any favors in the long run. If anything, they probably cooked
Oh
its
no,
goose.
definitely not.
But I still think it's just interesting that all of this happened because it's something like it wasn't just hacked once; it was hacked like 4 times.
Yep.
Uh,
Probably because all the other hackers were unleashed from being banned before, but now are no longer banned. So
yeah.
But also, fuck Ubisoft. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been long known to treat their online stuff pretty shitty. So not necessarily surprised by that at all.
Makes me wonder if it was possibly an inside job from like disgruntled employees or something.
Could be, definitely possible. But it's kind of like what was it? The source code was stolen, but like it was like it sounded like it was maybe like 3. Well, what was it? The one thing I saw said there was 4 different groups kind of talking about it, but the fourth group was literally just like the second group is lying, which I think was even funnier. Because the second group was like, yeah, we stole the source code, and the fourth group's like, no,
Wait,
they didn't steal the source code. They've had it for years.
Didn't they also steal like the source code of like tons of other games, including like unreleased Ubisoft games? Wasn't
Yeah,
that also a thing that
that
happened?
reminds me. Yeah, so supposedly the third group, I think it was something like the first group did like the bands and like the editing or whatever. The second group did the got the source code. The third group has some sort of I'm not reaching for the right word, so bear with me. But they did one of those like hacks where they like put a like money like lock on your files kind of thing, like hey, we have your files encrypted and unless you
Oh,
give us
those
money
guys. Yeah,
we're
okay.
not going to give you access to them again. Supposedly that's what the third group is, and I imagine that's probably what you're talking about because they probably are the ones that have access to those files, but it sounds like they're holding them hostage for money.
So no, wait, so you mean like they put that in for Ubisoft just in general? Like they took all their files and encrypted them? Is that what you're saying? Because I'm not talking about normal players. I'm talking about one of the groups supposedly pretty much pulled off the same thing that happened to Insomniac a few years back. where they stole like all the content that was like on the hard drives of Ubisoft instead of Insomniac. So you know how like the Ubisoft hack had like a bunch of like Wolverine, like people rebuilt the Wolverine game from scratch and you can play it on PC right now and shit like that. And then they had to redo the Wolverine game because of the fact that that shit got leaked and all that good jazz. Well, that's essentially what the, I guess, fourth group now, because the other three groups are not the one I heard. The fourth group's claiming they have like unreleased Assassin's Creed games and like a bunch of other like canceled Ubisoft titles or incomplete Ubisoft titles, and they have just like so many games, like all the old source code for games that already existed for Ubisoft. They have like the ones that have been taken down, like The Crew, for instance. They have like all this info, all this stuff that they could do stuff with, but they haven't done anything with it yet. And they also have like a bunch of games that haven't even been announced yet. That was what I read about.
Yeah, so apparently the news is they got about 900 gigabytes of data. And it allegedly is like source code, inside information, like Microsoft Teams kind of conversations, things like that.
Yeah, since they have stuff that was stolen from 1990s all the way up to today in the hack is what it says, I think. Let me see if I can look more into it. The hackers used a flaw in MongoDB to gain access to all of Ubisoft's servers. This flaw allowed them to pull huge amounts of data without being caught immediately. The experts warned that the attacks on game servers are rising, and firms that host code and user data need to be very careful. Ubisoft's leak is one of the largest in recent years.
Yeah, so apparently, so I was right. So apparently the hacker group responsible is demanding on Telegram that Ubisoft needs to contact them with a business proposal, or they're going to start leaking this information to the public. So, yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah, and I was right with the way this went down. So first group accessed user accounts and granted all players of Rainbow Six accounts 13 million in-game currency. Second group accessed servers and source code. Third group, that's the one that had the stolen information, and that's the one that's trying to extort Ubisoft for money. Fourth group,
I was going to say, apparently yesterday, Rainbow Six got shut down permanently, so it's gone right now. That you can't even play that game anymore right now.
Well, yeah,
while they're handling all this stuff. Yeah,
yeah, that game's not coming back because it sounds like the vulnerability was baked into it. So it's probably easier for them to just be like, all right, God bless. But yeah, no, it's pretty wild. Like Ubisoft, they're already in a shitty place as it is to begin with. So to add this on top of it, like I don't know how they make it back from this.
Yeah.
So yeah. But otherwise, that's all the news I got. I don't know anything else.
I don't think I have anything else either. It's just crazy amount of stuff going on. We had like a whole bunch of like servers and shit get hit also with hacks and DDoS attacks, but that always happens around Christmas. So you know. Yeah, I got nothing really. I got really nothing else. But yeah, that Ubisoft thing is crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, especially because they had like it happened like 4 times.
Yep.
So yeah,
I'm sure they're doing their best, right? Clearly.
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing.
Kind of weird that this happened after like the bidding war started for Ubisoft too, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it definitely makes them slightly less valuable.
I wonder if that's by design.
And it could be. That could be. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Nope. I think that is good. I think that's it for me. I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening to us tonight. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Game-Crunch has all of our old episodes. If you want to send us email, gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon.
Hello.
Any final thoughts?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Well, that's it. My name's Mike Anastasia. Find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin there, or on your favorite gaming console. Until next week, game on.
Game on.
on all my sleeves, I'm locked in. Hut in my eyes, mission log humming in the dark wind. Jacking in quick spin, map of the maze in my hand. Taxi doors fly wide, where to now? I say the whole land. Game on, we're riding through the rush of night city. Game on, heart be racing dirty and pretty. Game on, every side street singing my name. Game on, if it's high risk, I'm in the game. Market stars glow, chrome plated masts in cold smoke. Rooftop crossfire, watching the sky turn gold, blue strobe broke. Running that high wire, credit chips clink in my coat. Glitch in my smile, I got a back door tucked in my nose. Game on, riding through the rush of night city. Game on, heartbeat racing dirty and pretty. Game on, every side street singing my name. Game on, if it's high risk, I'm in the one more quest than another turn. Side job stacking like sparks that fly and burn. You say log off, but my hands stay on the controls. I learn this city's cruel, so alive, and I still crave one more run, one more dive. Hey, hey, hey! Game on, we're riding through the rush of night city. Game on, heartbeat racing dirty and pretty. Game on, every side street singing my name. Game on, if it's high risk, I'm in the game. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Game on. Game on. Game on. If it's high risk, I'm in the
So there it is.
There it is. That was a lot.
What?
I said that was a lot, and most of it was just us talking about Cyberpunk.
Yeah. all right. Here we go. We're just gonna go in depth on this 5-year-old game.
Yep. Hey, we had reason
Uh,
for it. We got it for less than $20. That's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
very topical. And not to mention too, I mean the Switch 2 release at least is newer. So
Yeah, and actually, I was gonna ask this. I didn't ask it on the podcast, but I was curious. This being a Switch 2 release and being a game that came out this year, are you gonna count it for Game of the Year?
I mean I'd always do the same kind of things, like, so it's new for the system,
Mm-hmm.
so a new release for the game, so it would be eligible for my own list,
Uh-huh.
but I wouldn't put it in for like any of the
Overall.
categories
Yeah.
or for like our overall top 10. I mean, it can do well on my own list, but I would not. Also, to a game like this, I would not award like overall game of the
Mhm.
year for,
Yeah.
because I think that always should go to like a new release for that year, like an
I'm
actual
curious
like, new one.
how Nick is gonna approach this Game of the Year now, since his game that he has been praising to hell and back has now fallen off a cliff for him. So, like, what the fuck's he gonna replace it with? If anything, what's gonna happen?
Oh, Expedition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was pretty much a shoe-in for Game of the Year for Nick. Like, But now, where does he stand? Is it completely removed from his thing? Is he going to rethink it? What is he going to do? I'm
I know he's
curious
going
to
to be
see
a
what
big
happens
wild
here.
card for Game of the Year, because I
I
also think that he's not going to let it stand in like any of the categories either. But
no, I don't think so either.
because he's very adamant. I mean, the whole AI in thing debate is very interesting to me.
I think it is too. So I'm just gonna say this right now.
Mhm.
I still would probably have it up there. I don't know if I'd have it be my game of the year now. Because I feel kind of the same way I do about Arc Raiders, where it's like I'd rather not give it game of the year and give it to something that's more, because there's so many good games that came out this year,
Mhm.
There's so many. I would rather pick one that is completely man-made
Mhm.
than not as my game of the year this year. But at the same time, I don't want to write that or Arc Raiders off completely because of the thing. So whereas Nick is fully scorched earth, I've kind of come around to this is shit. I hate this shit, but there's nothing I can do about it. And it does not matter if I do not buy a game. It does not matter if I preach about it. No one gives a shit what I have to say. No one gives a shit. And that
Well, that's
is
like I
a
said
very obvious thing.
in
It's
that one
not going.
conversation.
I know, and we were having that conversation. You were saying, hey, you should stand by it if you feel so strongly. But it doesn't matter if I feel strongly. I am one person versus millions. There are millions of people doing like fucking AI shit every single day.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't matter how I feel about it. It really just doesn't. And me buying a copy of something and me playing something and enjoying it, even with that in it, it doesn't change my thoughts on the entire situation, but it also doesn't change the situation either. Like I can't change that situation. I could share my feelings on that situation, but I cannot change that situation.
Yeah, and I mean the truth of the matter is, like, I mean, I don't disagree with you at all, and I do think
Because
that
like if I buy a game and it has loot boxes in it, I don't support loot boxes if they patch that in after the game came out, or what have you. But also, I can't escape it. Like it's back in the day when those were a big thing, or like microtransactions. Now I can't escape it. It doesn't mean I support it, or like I think that it's a good thing. It's just something that I can't do anything about. And I do feel like this has become that very quickly. But I do know that at least from the outside looking in, it feels like this is one misstep away from completely blowing up in their faces, specifically because of the fact that like the way the AI companies have set this whole thing up in the first place. They're borrowing money that they don't have to make things and then hoping to make back the money, but they don't have a way to make that money yet. So what are they doing? And they're like one step away from completely fucking themselves over and just blowing the whole thing up in their faces. So there's
well,
that.
that's what's going to happen, and that in a lot of ways is a very kind of natural cycle for technology. A lot of times, the people who get to new technology first generally don't reap from it. They invest a shit ton of money, they go bankrupt, and then the subsequent companies are the ones that reap all of those benefits because of the people who had been there first. I think I think it's really interesting, that all three of us are just so very different on our takes on AI in video games. I mean, I think I'm definitely the mildest. Like, I don't care nearly as much as you two do. I think though, I think where this is going to end up going, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to destroy the industry, and it's going to take a lot of people out of the equation.
And
I don't think it's going to
I
do
do
that.
think
I think this is going to end up being more like the analogy I was thinking of the other day is like, you think about it like food. Like, you could be like, oh, there's all these restaurants coming around and you can get a burger in 30 seconds if you really want to go out, like, like McDonald's or whatever. But it's not like McDonald's having burgers does not make other burgers bad.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make you want other burgers less. It's it's the difference in quality. Like it's the difference in things like there. And art a lot of
But
times
we saw
too,
things like, going back to your McDonald's example here, we saw things like Super Size Me, for instance, and
Yeah.
shit like that, where like they were steeped in their controversy because of the way they did things initially and whatnot, and it had to be straightened out. And a lot of the people that didn't support how poorly all that stuff was handled in the first place, now they'll eat at McDonald's now, they'll whatever, but it doesn't mean they really particularly like it or favor it or anything like that. But also, they could still recognize that, hey, this chain that got so big and whatnot, maybe this fast food restaurant that's known for actually producing just slop, a lot like what people call AI, maybe they shouldn't be trying to charge me $10 for a burger in this day and age. Maybe they should not be the one attempting to do that. Just like maybe these massive AAA industries and people that have like $50 million to make a game or $300 million to make a game, maybe they don't need the AI, or maybe they shouldn't be the one, or maybe there should be some sort of regulations on those specific people because they don't need to use something like those tools as much, say, as a smaller company or that sort of deal. And also, it feels like, okay, it's just obviously cutting corners just to cut corners, and it is going to cut out a lot of people from the industry because the big name CEOs in AAA industries don't give a fuck about their workers. They are just a number. And because of that, a lot of these tools are being used for nefarious purposes and to get rid of those people, not to make things better. And I think there's a very fine line between the way the technology is being used and who it's being used by that makes it okay or not okay.
Exactly.
That's my main
and I
thing
think
right
I think that's I think is where things are going to go down the road. It's like, because you're going to end up with companies
and also
that are
how
be
much is used. Like Nick freaking out over Expedition 33 is, I think, completely ridiculous.
I think the entire internet freaking out about Expedition 33's AI use in development that was replaced later in the game.
That's actually, so that's Baldur's Gate 3. It's a little bit different. There's two different ones that are here. So Baldur's Gate and the Divinity devs have stated that they used like placeholder stuff and whatnot to come up with the ideas for the new Divinity game that's coming out. And that's the AI argument that they're having there, saying this is kind of polluting the water if you're using that to replace like concept artists, which I do get that to a point, because if you like type in, hey, I need a prompt for this sort of thing, it is going to sort of train your brain for this is the way this thing should look if I'm going to go back and design it this way, and it does kind of ruin some of the creativity there. And I do get the argument there, and I do understand the argument, and I do think there is a conversation to be had there at that point, because when you're like fundamentally starting a project and you're already using AI specifically for like concept art and stuff like that, that can kind of like sway you in one direction to take like a game. So like, for instance, it's also the same thing when like people are like, hey, I'm going to make this kind of thing, let me look at this and do that, and I'm just kind of copying homework. But the AI, because of the way it's designed specifically with Gen AI, it takes the most popular thing, so you're going to get a lot of copy paste, looks the same, that sort of idea given to you, and then you're going to draw off of that idea, and it's already going to be polluted, and the well's going to be polluted with that idea just being the most popular thing that was generated, because that's the way generation works with AI currently. And I do think that in its current development, Gen AI is bad. Simple as that. It's bad for from a creative standpoint, specifically if you're doing something like that at the beginning of your process. And it's not just like, hey, I've already designed this, but then I wanted to do something with my design, but I thought it would be easier to run my design through AI to do this sort of thing and then show it like what my idea was using my initial design with AI on top of it. If you're doing something like that, okay. But if your initial design comes from a prompt, then there's no creativity there, because you're not putting the initial like investment in to come up with that idea, and you're getting it from someone else's already stolen ideas. And I don't like that. I don't like that idea. And I do have thoughts on that, which is essentially, it's not good. And we are going to get a lot of things that are going to look very samey, even more so than we already do nowadays, if that is what people end up doing instead of just coming up with their own, concept art first and going from there. But what Expedition 33 did wasn't that. They literally had one newspaper clipping that was a leftover placeholder texture that was from the Unreal store, like the Unreal Asset Pack, and the Unreal Asset Pack actually has some AI stuff that's already in the Asset Pack given to you from Unreal. And that AI picture that was left behind was from an Asset Pack and from one thing that was left in Expedition 33 that the devs forgot to take out. And that was literally it. That is the only AI elements in Expedition 33. A single newspaper clipping that was on a random billboard behind a house for 5 days because the original designers accidentally forgot to replace that with the original hand-drawn texture.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck.
That's really dumb thing to has as like a hill to die on. I think the Divinity thing that I explained, where instead of starting with concept art, they had a prompt concept art for the new Divinity game. I think that's something that needs a lot more nuance, because I do think, like I said, you can kind of poison your own idea by not having it be your idea to begin with. Does that make sense what I'm explaining there?
It does. But I also think too, game development teams a lot of times, and this kind of comes down to, I think, what you were saying earlier, it's going to depend on teams and stuff, who's using these assets. Was it the development team, like the gameplay team, so they can try out things and see what things look like? Because that, in that case, is not going to have any real effect on the art. It's just really hey, we're going to put these placeholder assets here so we can see how things may look as we develop this game. And I think that's very reasonable. I mean, you even think too, the Pokemon Terra League, when they were showing off the third Pokemon Legends game, they were using assets from the old games.
Yep.
To try out concepts with this new game that they were working on. I mean, the idea is not that far-fetched, in terms of things. But people aren't going to be like, "Wow, you were using a character from the Sinnoh region, and that's going to sway, your development when you're doing the Galar region."
And I get that,
Yeah.
but also those people, right? So the art that they were taking for that game and putting as placeholder, for instance, with the Legends, that sort of thing, that art was already made by them, and they already owned that art. The problem with Gen AI, which some of these people are using, is it is trained off of other people's artwork. So it's trained off of already stolen ideas from someone else. That's specifically the issue with Gen AI. It is not a AI that is learning and designing its own art and then being able to do that. It's stealing other people's work and taking the most popular thing, stealing it from other people, mashing it all together and putting it in a blender and shaking it all up, and then just giving you the lowest common denominator, but still using the template of someone else's art that it has stolen from. That's not good. That's not a good thing to do. I think there should be some regulations against that, specifically being used in the production of a paid-for product or a mass-produced
when we talked about AI stuff before,
yes.
I told you, I would much rather, if you have one person and you have to give them a choice between doing textures on trees or doing something that's actually creative and can utilize their creative sense, I would much rather you have them do something creative and just use the AI for bullshit textures that nobody's going to pay more than 10 seconds looking at.
And you're correct, but
if even 10 seconds.
Wouldn't the concept in the very start of a game be at its creative peak? Wouldn't that be the place you don't want to use this the most? Which is where they are already saying, the Baldur's Gate 3 devs, that they are starting to use this. They're using this at the creative height of designing the game at the beginning, at the concept stage. So wouldn't that already be polluting said creativity by having that element introduced that early into development? See, if you bring that element later on into it, Well, I mean, they're using it for concept art. That's the problem. That's the issue a lot of people have.
But
They see,
is it the artists are using it as the concept art, and then they're
and
building off of that?
that is true. That is where more information is needed, especially because, like, you're going to get a lot of plagiarism things also, I think, if the artist is using something as concept art and then building off of it.
Yeah.
If that
But-
Gen AI is being used and that is already trained on someone else's art, and then you build off of someone else's art that the Gen AI spits back out to you, then that could be seen as plagiarism. And we've already seen a lot of elements of plagiarism in the gaming industry, specifically done on purpose. Now,
I mean,
if
I was
it's
gonna
done
say,
on
like,
accident caused by Gen AI, it's going to blur the line a lot between the done on purpose and done on accident, and can really pollute the well. And also, again, like I said, I think if you start using something like that early in the process of developing a game, you're already kind of causing some issues with the creativity aspect, as you mentioned, and saying, like, hey, the creativity, I'd rather people be working on it for something that's, like, not creative, like tree textures or whatever. And, like, I get that. I actually kind of agree with you, and I've changed my stance in some ways on that element of things, where it's like, I get that. I understand what you're saying. And we kind of came together and had that conversation, you and me, already before, about, like, the people in the stands, the trees, the leaves, that sort of deal. Is there a problem here with this? And then you brought up the whole, I'd rather people do more creative things. But if you introduce and use those tools for the creative aspect of your game, then you're not creating it anymore. And
it
that's
all,
like,
it all depends
that's a
on it depends on
problem.
who's using it, and depends on how they're using it. And
Mhm.
art, as it is very derivative of things as it is, anyways. Like, there's, like, almost everything you see is derived from something that's been around for, like, long enough your brain can't comprehend it.
Yep.
And, like, I mean, you think about things like, you got two ends of the spectrum. Like, I mean, really, you have, like, in the pre-AI game development thing. I mean, who was it? Was it Bungie that got in deep shit for, like, literally plagiarizing, like, all this person's art?
Yeah, and now their game looks like ass, which we also saw that this week.
Yeah, so I mean, you have something like that too, but then you have other things too. Like, it was, I think Super Mario Brothers U had a stage that was, like, very derivative from Van Gogh.
Yeah, and then there's a game called Fragpunk that 1-to-1 stole a stage from Counter-Strike. So, like, and there's a lot of elements of that's either being done on purpose or by mistake right now, but that's human doing that. When you take that out of the equation and you have a computer doing that for you, I think we're going to have a lot more either on purpose or mistakes showing up in future titles.
Yeah, and like I said, it really all depends on how the teams are using it in terms of, like, the planning process. Is it more like, hey, they're using it, just to kind of fill in stuff for gameplay, so they can kind of see what things would look like without having to, fully develop these assets? That makes sense, because that's a time saver and not necessarily something that's going to result in, AI being used inappropriately. But if it's the art teams are
Yes.
using it specifically to help build their concept art, that's questionable.
That's a problem. That's a problem, in my opinion, because I think that, again, could lead to plagiarism concerns, as well, because of the AI only mimicking, as well as issues with people's own creative vision versus someone else's creative vision that the AI put out for them.
Yeah.
That's
And really the thing is too, like,
that's a problem.
even with, and we call this AI, but it's really not AI. It's just a very good search engine, really. But it's like, even too, it's like, if you did, like, hey, you, like, let's say the said concept art team, is they draw up, like, an actual physical piece of art, and they're like, hey, we want to make billboards based off of this art style. What is it then? Is it, like, the gray area gets very gray at that point, because you're like, okay, this is the art style I want you to use, and this is, the art team's own making, but then the AI is going to take that style and apply it to their knowledge base, and create something new out of that, but it's also not new, it's derivative. um you can get in some very strange places with it. I think as much as people want this to be a very black and white issue, it's not a very black and white issue.
Oh no, there's a lot more
But I
nuance to
also,
this that needs to be discussed. That's the
yeah,
thing. I don't think you can be 100% for something or against something, especially with this specific topic. I think
yeah,
the stance needs to be taken on a case by case basis, as with anything, and I think there needs to be some kind of regulation right now put in place early so that a lot of bad actors can't ruin something and make it worse before it's able to get better. I think that makes the most sense. Like, things can be used as a tool, obviously, and I was initially against this, but as we've found more intricate ways to use this, as we've talked more about that, you and me, and we've had like longer discussions about it. There are some things that we have come to agree on. Is just, yeah, that's fine. We understand. We understand this, that sort of thing. And Nick has already said he's on another level, basically, where it's like, no, all or nothing. So he's trying to make this very black and white. Also, I've noticed, and
yeah.
I think it's a little ridiculous to go that route, if that makes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a bit too extreme. But at the same time, though, like I respect anyone that has
Oh no, I do too.
that strong of
Absolutely.
a stance and is willing to follow through with it. Because the issue is like, and I think I kind of hinted at this with the conversation that we had, off podcast, but really all this is the door opening, and what's going to happen with time is like, kind of like with your situation with arc raiders. I'm using it as an example, but I'm
Yeah,
not throwing you
let's
under
do
the
that.
bus. I'm just going to use this as an example because this is how I see things going with this.
Yep.
In particular, it's like, okay, so game came out, it was successful, a lot of people bought it, then they find out about the AI afterwards. So you already have people that are invested in the game like yourself, and they're
Yep.
like, well, I have this great game, and obviously, I don't approve of this, but it's a small portion of the game, and it really
Hmm.
does not affect my gameplay that much. They could go through and re-record these lines, and I think in the perfect world that would be the ideal solution, but obviously
Yep.
that's something that they're not doing.
Hmm.
But really, what's happening now, though, is this door has opened for all these people, because now it's like, well, now you have a game in your possession that you're actively playing that does have AI,
Yep.
that for someone like Nick would be a hard stop.
Which it
um
was. He literally said, "I'm done with Expedition 33. I hate this game now." He
yep.
immediately had a hard stop, and that
Hmm.
was his take, and that's totally valid. I'm
Yeah.
actually very impressed with how much he stood behind that. I folded rather quickly with my stance, and was able to make more concessions, because I looked at the way I thought about things, the way I thought about these things specifically. Like, again, let's go back to Arc Raiders for a second. The thing that is going on here, it's an AI voice bank. That is the AI in this game. It is an AI voice bank which is trained off of a actor who said these lines initially and said multiple lines and stuff like that, and then they put his voice after recording multiple lines into a voice bank so that they can essentially make them say whatever now. So since this
Yeah.
is a live service game, they don't have to bring the actors back in and and start new recordings with them and this, that, and the other and whatnot. And to at least the best of my knowledge so far, from what I've read, I'm not 100% sure about this. To the best of my knowledge, they still get paid royalties whenever they have to take their voice out of the voice bank again to continue using it.
Oh, okay.
Here's the thing. I don't ever listen to things. I just do not care. They don't sound natural, and I think they do ruin that element of the game. I do. But also, it is the smallest part of this game, to the point where the actual human interactions I have with real life people is more important to me in this game than the stupid AI that I talk to when I come back and turn in a mission.
Yeah.
It feels like the voice lines and the garbage that you would have in like a gotcha game, and instead of replacing it, instead of having like real actors that they have to pay a lot of money for, they just got a bunch of people out of a voice bank that had already agreed to having their likeness and their voice being used in said voice bank, and had already signed up for it themselves. So it's not like they're even stealing these actors' voices. These actors did agree to this. It is a thing that they openly agreed to. So there's no like shady dealings there. But it does legitimately hinder that aspect of the game, and I'm not going to pretend that it does not. It is very noticeable, but at the same time, that aspect of the game is not something I care about. But I can't be sure that I would care about it less or more if there were actual actors there. So I do think there's, like, again, there's a lot more nuance there. Because when I'm playing and I hear those voices and I hear that it's just like kind of pieced together, like I'm fucking listening to a Microsoft Sam kind of deal going on there, it does make me give a shit less about the quest line and them trying to tell me story tidbits and stuff. I don't care. But also, this is a live service game. And you know how much I would have cared about it in the first place? None. So, again, I can't say for sure that hinders or anything like for me. Like, would it have done, would I have cared more about the story? Probably not. Because I play something like ZZZ, for instance, or when I played Genshin, I don't give a fuck about the story that's going on there. I'm there for the pulls. I'm there for the game. I'm there for the gameplay. I'm there for the gotcha elements. When Genshin first came out, I was there to play it because it was like a Breath of the Wild clone, essentially. And that's why I liked the game, not because of the voice acting. I didn't really particularly care, and I feel that way a lot about many gotcha games, just in general, because you kind of get into a pattern with those games where you no longer give a shit. And sometimes, even with me, I'll like literally skip entire storylines and just read like the stuff that like explains the storylines instead, just to like, finish a quest line quickly before it moves on to the next quest line, because you have time limits on those kind of games. So I don't know, and I guess at the end of the day, I can't say for sure how it would either hinder my enjoyment or improve my enjoyment if they were to do that. But it's not really doing anything for me right now, but it's also not making me not want to play. And there's so much more intricacies to like how you feel about something like this. Like I don't really know how to put into words fully my thoughts on this sort of stuff, because it is, like you said, not black and white. It is a more grayish area, and there are levels to this sort of thing.
Oh yeah, but like I said, kind of where I was going with this though is like, with Arc Raiders though, it started to open the door, and more AI is going to trickle into things now, because the more that it happens, the more people are going to be comfortable with it, and the more people are comfortable with it, the more they're going to keep pushing those lines. And
eventually that line is going to get drawn, and people are going to be like, no.
Yeah, well, because it's like, think about this. Like, let's say today, we'll do a theoretical example. Let's say today, Arc Raiders announces an expansion pack. Let's just say it's like incredibly well priced. Let's say it's $1 and adds like 100+ hours of brand new content and lots of awesome features that you wanted in this game. Would you buy this DLC?
Well, seeing as though it's a live service game, and that's not the way DLCs work live services.
This is a theoretical example.
Okay. So what would they say it one more time? Give me the example one more time.
Let's just say that, Arc Raiders it announces some sort of like expansion of some sort of this gameplay.
Yeah.
Let's just say that it's incredibly well priced. I've just theoretically throw out $1 just because, it's got to have some value for this example.
Sure.
So $1 is all it is. And you say you can imagine whatever content you want to add. We'll say let's say it promises to add hundreds of hours of new experiences, flesh out some new things, new areas or whatever, new mission types. Who fucking knows? But there's tons of stuff to do there. And obviously it's very good value. So, would you how much would you hesitate on buying this?
So you mean like, okay, so what is it adding? That's the question. Is it
Doesn't
all
matter.
okay?
It's a lot of content.
All right, let me ask
then-
a few questions because again, we
Okay.
already established it's not black and white. There's a gray area here. So
Mhm.
let's say the AI implementation that our creators currently has right now, is that
Yep.
the only form of AI implementation that is included with the new DLC, or is there new stuff? Like new
Well,
AI
obviously, like
brought
you
in,
said, they're
or
going to
like
have to go back and probably reapply or whatever. Like you said, whatever
the
terms that they
voices
had
and
to
that
kind of
sort of
reuse
thing?
the voices.
Yeah.
But obviously, they would have to use them again.
Okay, but this map isn't being made entirely like out of garbage
Nope, there's
Gen AI stuff. It's nothing like
no other additional AI content is being
Mhm.
added to the game.
that. Okay.
However, obviously, it is still going to use the AI stuff that's there. And now that you know that this is a company that is actively using AI,
Yes.
this dollar, even though it's insignificant in the grand scheme of things,
Mhm.
obviously is going to go towards funding that and supporting their vision.
Interesting. This is very interesting. Huh.
You don't necessarily have to have an answer for it. It's more of just kind of like a mental exercise.
No. I want to give you an answer because I do think you bring up a really good point. Because I also thought about this because they have cosmetics and the cosmetics aren't considered like AI. I don't think the
Mhm.
cosmetics are AI because they have listed and they've been very open about what is AI since coming out and talking about it in the first place. And I have bought cosmetics, so I've already done this.
Okay.
I think I was okay with the implementation after finding out about it, because I don't care, and it sucks. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's good. It's not good. I will tell
Mhm.
you any point in time that I don't give a shit about the questing system, and I just kind of click through and do whatever. I don't even listen to it. And most of the time, I even have the voices turned down in this game because I don't find them to be important, and I also don't find them to sound natural, and I think they're kind of garbage. And I
Mhm.
recognize that, and that is a very big stain on this game just in general. But at least these voices are were originally people also. So I do think that in that aspect and the way that this has been done, I am fine with it because it was originally actual voice actors. So it's not like these are fake voices that were made up on the fly. It's not like it removes the entirety of creative control. It's also a live service game. So again, that element is a very deciding factor. And I know you mentioned DLC, but for the most part, live service games never do anything like that, so we're not going to run into that. I think another better example would have been like, hey, are you still going to play it when like a huge update comes out and whatever, and they
Update,
add more
expansion,
content,
things like that.
which
The only difference is,
literally
though,
I
with
did that
updates, there's
last
no
week.
cost generally. So
That's true, but literally I did that last week. So that
Mhm.
that's the thing. I guess the cost would be me putting more time into it at that point. Me continuing to support this game, even though knowing that, which we've already established that in this specific usage case, it does not bother me as much as something like Gen AI, which is literally just theft. I think my biggest problem here is when something is just outright theft of something.
Mhm.
And I don't think that these people that have signed up and become part of this thing, that gave their okay for it in the first place, and that are still being paid for this, I think this is that gray area. This is a lot like that tree texture that I talked about. I think this is one of those usage cases where things are different. It's not a case of like someone just generated images and then they're like, okay, this is now in my game and I'm going to sell my game based off of using stuff that's stolen from someone else. And I think that is a lot of my problem when it comes to this just in general. And the reason why I asked and mentioned the whole regulation thing, because things like that element do need to be regulated. Stuff like that does not need to be. You shouldn't be able to steal someone else's art and then make money off of it. That's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, that's not a thing you should be able to do. That's bad. That is my main point where I put my foot down and I say this is not a good thing. And that is specifically that I don't like when someone can do that. I don't like that element of thing. I don't like that's my problem. This is a tool, and if people have agreed to things already, I do think there's more of a leniency that can be given. But when you're taking away the creative control by just taking someone else's art or whatever, or having a computer generate something based off of other people's art and then putting it into your game and then making money off of it, I think that's bad. So, like with Black Ops 7, which I enjoyed the zombies a lot, but I would not buy that game, period, because of the fact that they literally generate artwork and use that for the calling cards. I'm not okay with that. It looks shitty. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no need to do it other than pure laziness. And it's garbage. That's the kind of stuff I'm not okay with. Battlefield 6 also did that with like its emblems and stuff. You're a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no need to do something with something that small. Just let one of your artists do it. They're not doing anything right now because you've already made your game. You've already done that. So have your artists do some stuff. Give them a few extra bucks, whatever. They're still working under you. It's not like you fucking fired them just because the game's already completed. They're probably working on other things, but they could take 5 minutes out and draw like a little emblem and you can pay them for doing so. Don't fucking just AI generate it because it makes it look bad. It's taking stuff from other people, and it's also taking money away from real people that could be doing said job. I don't like that. That's where I have an issue with all of this. If it's placeholder stuff and it's not at the concept phase, do not care. If it's people's voice acting, and they've already put their voice into a voice bank for this to be done, although I do think that is shitty and is going to drag the game down and make it less immersive, it still does not bother me depending on the game it is. If you do something like that for like a JRPG, I'm probably going to have a problem with it because it's going to feel a lot more stilted and, you know, it's going to ruin a lot of that immersion. So I think you can at least understand that point of view as well. If it's something like we used AI voices, or took voices from an AI voice bank and used it in our JRPG. Like if they were to do that in Cyberpunk 2077, for instance, that would ruin a lot of immersion. That would not be good, in my opinion. And I think taking a game like that versus a game that is a live service game, I think there's a big difference in the two. And I think that's, again, where a lot of that you need to look and compare and contrast the different things that people might use this for and decide for yourself what is okay and what is not okay. I'm not okay with it in things like I said, like, you know, like Cyberpunk, like JRPGs, like things that are supposed to be super immersive. If I'm playing a game that's an online multiplayer shooter, I'm going to care less about it. But if you're a multi-billion-dollar company that is doing this sort of shit and it doesn't even match like your other quality output in your game and it looks very disjointed and doesn't match anything, I'm not going to be okay with that because it looks shitty. So, like, does it look good? Does it make sense? Is it okay? Can it be acceptable? A lot of questions have to be asked before you can really be given, like, a yes or no, I think, on this topic. And I do think that that's a really interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, a lot of this, right now where we are, is they're just trying to see what lines people will draw, if any. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, kind of where things end up coming with it. Is there going to be a line that's big enough that people will not cross it? I don't know. I really do not know. I think
there will be. I think there's going to be something that people are going to be like, "Yo, this is not okay." And I do
there are
think,
things that people online are going to be like that, but will like John, who only plays Madden and Call of Duty every year, is he
you're
going to care
100%
if Call
correct.
of Duty uses AI? Is he going to care if Madden uses AI? You probably won't even know.
Nope,
And
you're right about that. You're right about that.
that's
They don't.
really where those are going to be the people that really are going to be the most
Mhm.
consequential down the line,
And
because
since I'm not one of those people, it doesn't matter what I say.
well,
But I
no, I
can
mean
still share my
every sale
opinion.
at the end of the day does make a difference, but it really is like, you need a bunch of people. It's like, even if everyone that's on Reddit got up in arms about, say, Expedition, if they all didn't buy it, like,
Mhm.
it still would probably be an incredibly good selling game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to, the most vocal people are not always the biggest, things. And like I said, even with the other examples that I gave on there, I mean, there's plenty of other things that people were like, oh yeah, these are horrible practices, we're going to boycott. And it didn't do shit. Like, it's not, because yeah, people could be upset about, with, like, say, J.K. Rowling and her
Mhm.
stance on trans stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of people don't know about it and don't care enough to not do something about it. So something like Hogwarts, whatever, sold a stupid amount of copies, even though people were actively trying to, like, boycott it when it came out. But at the end of the day, people are going to buy what they want, and their lines, especially for stuff like that, for people who are not in it on a day-to-day
I
basis and
think
don't
that's
follow
even
the
more
news.
of a interesting conversation to have because I saw that shit happen in real time, and that was the people that wanted to boycott that game.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of shot themselves in the foot because a lot of the way they did it was so aggressive and so incredibly rude
Mm-hmm.
that um it was it had an opposite effect, kind of like the Streisand effect, essentially. So there were a group of people that started a thing called "Has this person played that wizard game?" And it was
Mm-hmm.
actually a site that told you if someone had played um, Hogwarts Legacy, and they used it as a way to specifically target people, and they would literally send out full on harassment campaigns and, like, DDoSing attempts on these people for doing so. So there were some really bad actors that the other people in that boycott campaign literally, like, put on a pedestal that really ruined that boycott campaign and kind of caused it to have the opposite effect, where people saw how aggressive and absolutely unhinged some of the people in that campaign were, to the point where they just turned around and bought the game just to say fuck you. And I do think that we are seeing those same kind of aggressive takes here with AI in a very in a very unhinged way that
Oh yeah.
on both sides, that you can't have that conversation, and in some cases you're going to have the complete opposite effect because of that. So there are some people that will literally turn on a dime and be like, nope, drop this, fuck them, they were never good, they're fucking garbage, they've always been shit and whatnot, or even go as far as to, like, send them death threats, crazy shit, because that's what the internet loves to do, because of their use of AI. And then that makes other people be like, well, these people are fucking crazy.
Oh yeah.
They're acting unhinged. I'm gonna buy this game. So then the support goes to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that boycott's not gonna work because you have the unhinged people that cause that sort of thing to happen, and it's happening already. I've been seeing that also happen in real time with the whole AI debate. So it's kind of a case where you and me and other people on the internet are not going to change this. It's going to be the money. That's
Yep.
really all there is to it.
Exactly. And that's what it's all going to come down to at the end of the day.
I do feel like the bubble is going to pop, and it is going to fail specifically for that reason, because of the money. Because right now, data centers have increased like 300+%, and I don't know if you've looked at RAM prices lately, but RAM prices have increased 4 and 5 times. So whereas RAM that you could buy for $24, say, 7 months ago. It now costs $130 to buy that same RAM. And,
oh yeah, I know the prices are wild.
And like, for instance, my kit that I paid $100 for is now worth like almost $500. So that's insane. And if you think about RAM for a second, all technology uses the chips that are used in RAM. So your video game systems, your TVs, your monitors, this, that, and the other. All of that stuff is going to use some form of RAM. And if these AI data centers are buying it all up and there's none for these other people, you're going to have shortages of things that people actually enjoy. So the things that these AI, like the AI would be used for, like, for instance, video games, people are going to be priced out of. So it's not even going to fucking matter. So they're not going to make the money. So they're going to kill themselves. It's like a snake eating its own tail, that sort of thing. Or a Boros, because that's kind of the route we're already going, because we've seen already the rise in prices of consoles with tariffs and whatnot. But when these RAM prices come into effect and it hits the consoles, which it will soon, because stock is going to dry up very quickly, when that happens, like PCs, which are already being hit massively, but consoles, when they get hit, which will happen eventually, you're going to see your consoles go up by like $300, $200, somewhere in there. And that's going to be a problem. And then the games that they're wanting to use AI on aren't going to matter, because people aren't going to be able to buy the consoles, and people aren't going to be able to buy the games in the first place. So they're kind of fucking themselves over already by trying to grow too quickly in this market, and it's going to hinder their growth in the long run, I believe.
Yeah, the tech stuff's definitely going to be an issue down the line there too. It'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. But yeah, I mean, the other side is it too, and I think I mentioned this at one point recently, but it may have been a different conversation, not on the podcast. But like, even things too, like, you have all this investment in, say, like the RAM and things like that because they need it for the AI, but like our country is like
SSDs
actively
also just went up in price because of the centers as well. So like, that shit's crazy too. Like $300 for an SSD that you could get last year for like 90. That's just stupid.
Yep. Yeah, no. But I mean, the other aspect of it too, that like our country is like very much lagging behind in is the other aspect of it is power. Because you need electricity sources for all of these things. And meanwhile, China's building like all these new power plants, and we're like, hey, let's revisit coal. Like, what the fuck are we doing? And that's going to cause an issue down the line, because even if you have all these, RAM and processors and all these other computer pieces, if you don't have the power to run them, they don't do shit.
Yep.
And that's actually probably going to be the next actual stopping point for us. Because
not only that,
already
the data centers cost so much water to cool that like we're gonna use up our own resources and kill ourselves. It's like fucking people are just being stupid. They're not being smart about this whole thing. So like eventually the environmentalists are going to absolutely attack these RAM data centers. It's gonna happen. Like, if you thought the 5G people were crazy, wait till you see the environmentalists, what they're gonna fucking do.
Yeah, and it's all gonna cause issues down the line. So it's just a matter of time. If it's not RAM, it's gonna be electricity, and if it's not electricity, it's gonna be environmental. Like, there's so many issues. So I don't know.
So I think that all need to be part of the podcast. So hopefully we're still recording.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot there. So
that was a massive tangent. We literally went on for a whole nother hour.